There's a little bit of Craftin coming to you on Monday, June 16th at 11:19 p.m. Wisconsin time. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, but if you've watched me before, you already know that. And I was actually ready a few minutes ago, but I couldn't get my stream to connect for some reason. And now I'm getting my iPad set up so I can see if anybody joins me. So guess what? We're doing strawberries. We're doing sunflowers again. I cannot seem to get enough of this new upcoming embossing folder. It is absolutely gorgeous. If you don't already want it, you're going to want it. It will become available to customers in July as an online exclusive, and it is gorgeous. So last night we did a card. Last night we did a card, and I don't know where I put it. Oh, I see it now. So anyway, we did a card where we put some ink on the embossing folder on what we'll call the top. I should have put my microphone on. So we put some Blackberry Bliss ink on the top of the embossing folder. We put our basic white inside, ran it through, and this is what we ended up with. So it kind of did the background and then embossed up the flowers, because that's how the embossing folders work. And then where there were any crevices or any of the bumps on here that are raised, because this part is raised and it pushes them up, these parts are indented, but the outlines will pick up the ink, and that's what went in around here. So that was just one swipe through the embossing folder. I'm going to set this off to the side. And then we'll put on the Blackberry Bliss. This is not done because I'm going to colorize this one because I think I will like it better, because this is what we ended up with. So I used blending brushes with some crushed curry, some old olive, filled in a little bit more with the Blackberry Bliss for places that weren't covered very dark, and then the Everyday Arches and the stamp set's what I used for that. So that was last night. And before that, we did, I think this was the night before, the plaid embossing folder, Forever Plaid. That's a 3D embossing folder along with this sunflower. And I found some old crushed curry twine that I had. So if you decide to recreate this and don't have any crushed curry twine, let me know. I probably have enough I could send you a little piece to wrap around there, because it looks really good with that. And then we did a little fun fold here, and I've got some Wink of Stella on there, kind of glams it up. And I used my Stampin' Blends alcohol markers to color that black and very vanilla plaid ribbon. Here's another one where we used the mini corrugated embossing folder. And this was just the first one I was playing with, Little Misty Moonlight with the Cajun Craze. And then I brushed some of the color on the flower. So tonight, what I thought I would do is kind of get a head start. And I put this through the embossing folder. And I fussy cut. And of course I think I fussy cut the biggest flower out of the page. And I'm not a fussy cutting fan. And then I also took my new 1 7/8 inch punch, my circle punch, item 165, 259. And I punched that out, and then I colored that. And again, I just used my blending brushes and added some colors. So I did crushed curry first, and I went about halfway up the petals. I did the whole center of the sunflower. And then I used some pumpkin pie, and I went over the middle a little bit more. And then I used Darling Duckling to capture the rest of those petals. So tonight, I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do. Just like last night, I wasn't sure. But I got this new paper. This is coming out with the July online exclusives as well. This is called Painterly Pears. And I was really sad when they discontinued the last pear stamp we had. But don't fear, there's a new one. And hey Fifi, welcome. So this is the new Painterly Pear paper, and I will share some of the other sweet items later. And speaking of sweets, this month Stampin' Up! Has the sweet deal. So your first sweet, you pay full price. The second sweet is 50% off, or if it's a product of a sweet, you get 50% off the lower priced items. So make sure you're watching any orders that you put in, that you're getting the maximum benefit of that 50% off. But this Painterly Pear paper is very gorgeous. Look at that sheet. That could make a really cool scrapbook page, I suppose, or a bag, or even just cut it down with several card fronts. And the backs of these are very pretty with the more subdued patterns. Yeah, Fifi, you caught me live. Yay. So these are just, I really like this one. I usually don't go for the dark papers, but I really like that one. And I thought about using this page here, and that's Pretty in Pink, Petal Pink. So the paper is Basic Beige, Darling Duckling, Mossy Meadow, Old Olive, Petal Pink, and Secret Sea. But when I laid it out with the color of this, I wasn't real happy with how the colors melded. So we're not going to go with that one. This is pretty too. They're all pretty. But we are going to use a few pieces of this. All right. So I already cut, you can see that I cut some down. And I cut them at 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches, I think. So we're going to have those. And I thought what I would do is just finish some coloring on this one. So I'm going to go ahead and take some crushed curry. And I'm just going to use my sheet from yesterday. And you can see where I kind of started in the middle of the sunflower. I was just kind of deciding what I wanted to do. I think sunflowers are, when they're ripe, a little darker in the middle because the sunflowers are usually pretty dark. And then this is pumpkin pie. We're going to add some of that to the middle to make it a little deeper. And then we can use some Darling Duckling to get those petals. And when I pick up my ink, I usually just blot it off a little bit so I'm not getting a harsh color blotch. And I put that on there. And I think I'm going to add some more of the crushed curry, so it's a little darker. And I'm not trying to rush summer away since we're not even to summer yet. But the sunflower just really captured my interest. And just see how easily that adds some beautiful color to this sunflower. Just all the shading on there, I think it's just gorgeous, and you don't really have to do a whole lot. Oh, I'm glad yours comes tomorrow, Fifi. You're gonna love it. And you can actually, because it's so large, I mean, it's like 6.5 by 8.25 or something. Because it's so large, you can basically emboss, you know, that half of a sheet of cardstock, and you'll have 2 card fronts. Excuse me. All right. So with this, let me messy stamper syndrome again. The other thing with the pear one, what was it called? I don't even remember. Paperly pear or something or other. Here is the ribbon that's coming with that suite. And it is gorgeous. Mossy Meadow and Gold trim. And that's what it's called, just Mossy Meadow and Gold. It should be about 3/4 inch, or is it 3/8? It's 1/4 inch. So that is gorgeous. And then when we put this on Mossy Meadow, just look how all that just really stands out. So that could be very pretty together. Let's just try to make a bow with this and see how it turns out, because the one side is more gold. You can see how that's more gold. And then the other side is the Mossy Meadow. So I wonder, let's see if I can get this so that we've got all the Mossy Meadow on the outside except for the center. I usually use my little bow jig, and maybe I should try using that instead. But we're getting it. But this ribbon is gorgeous. I imagine this would be great for some Christmas cards too. So I'm just going to cut this off. Yeah, Fifi, you've got to get this ribbon. It's gorgeous. So I'm going to leave those tails pretty long just because I'm not sure where it's going to end up yet. And I'll set this back over with my stuff for my suite. And here's the low profile sparkle dot. So these are really flat. And then here's that stamp set and dies. So I have some ideas in mind. Excuse me. So those will be very pretty. So what I thought I would do is, here's just 3 strips that are 1.5 by 3 or 3.5. Maybe it's 3.5. Yeah, 1.5 by 3.5. But to me, that doesn't stand out enough. I mean, it doesn't really showcase that paper. So what I thought we could do is, because it's got that inset of Old Olive, I thought that would make it stand out a little bit more. But what I want to do is run this through an embossing folder. And I want it to kind of, I don't know, I want it to kind of flow. So I thought I'd try to do some Mossy Meadow in here and see how it looks. We'll just see. This may not turn out anything like I want it to. I don't know. All right. And then let me pull out my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. There we go. And we just need that base plate and plate 4. So I've got my embossing folder right in there. So let's just run that through and see how it looks. Well, that looks pretty cool. All right, so that embossing folder we'll just clean off with some water, and I'll run that under the sink in a minute. I'll get this out of the way. So let's see how this looks now. If we put this on here, and maybe it's going to be too much. Well, that might be too much now. I think I might just like it with the plaid rather than all of the strips. Maybe we just do another one with the strips. We can make those different sizes. And then, oh, let me get that ribbon again. If we cut off a piece about like so. Which one? This looks great? Or this looks great, Fifi? Left or right? And there's a little bit of a delay. So I'm going to get another mossy metal base. Oh, I should have had it done ahead of time. I apologize for that. And that I don't have my mic on. And I'm not sure if I plug it in after the fact if it'll pick up, so I don't want to mess it up. All right, so here's another base. I should just cut a bunch of them. Yeah, the inked embossing folder I think makes a big difference. And I just wonder if I should trim that down so you can kind of see a little bit more of that mossy meadow. I got a little bit of a ridge there. Should we make that a little bit smaller, do you think? So here, I didn't pick up mossy meadow. This is garden green. Figures. But at least mossy meadow, I already have one cut. So trim that one down a little bit. Let's take maybe ½ inch off. Let's just take a look here. Whoops. So this should be 4. So let's go to 3 3/4 by 5. And we'll just see how that looks. We can always take more off, right? All right. So that's a little bit better. And this was at the edge of the embossing folder, so that's just a partial leaf. So that's going to go right on the edge of that layer. And I wonder if we put a border like this with the old olive, that would kind of finish it off, I think. I think that gives it a little bit more frame. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to do this as a retirement card. So let's just get our mossy meadow and stamp a couple of those. And I did, because I haven't used the stamp before, I did stamp a little bit of Versamark on here, because I have found that that usually gives me a little better image. And it could just be my imagination, but it does seem to work. Okay, so I have a friend who is hoping to retire the end of this year. We'll see how it works out for her. So a fall-ish retirement card might be kind of fun. All right, so yeah, I'll get a piece of old olive and frame that out, because I do think that'll look nicer. That'll draw the colors together. It'll kind of bridge that gap. And then let's see if I can get this. That's pretty good. Get this out of the way. All right, so something needs to happen with these. Maybe I should just make little frames with old olive for those. So we can do that. So if those are 3 1/2, we'll go to 3 1/8. And 1 1/2, I'll just add 1/8 inch. And I think that's the size I need. Let's just test those out and see how that looks. And I could have probably made that, oh, I guess I cut it too wide. Maybe these are only, oh, those are 1 1/4 inches. Maybe a band across the middle too for here, like up and down. So if that was 1 1/4 inches, we'll go up there. I wish there was designer series paper for the card on the right. Okay, we'll take a look at that. Oh yeah. I wish there was sunflower designer series paper. Oh, I think that'll look cute. All right. So if that was 1 1/4, we'll go up 1/8 inch here. And then if we got 3 1/2 plus another 1/8. 1 1/4 plus another 1/8. Thank you, Fifi. The one on the left is coming along. You know, that's what happens when we just don't plan ahead. You just kind of go with the moment. And it doesn't matter how tired I am, I can't seem to turn it off once it's time for bed, because that's when my creativity just seems to start, I guess. Now, what I could do is I could cut these a little shorter so that they're staggered a little bit more, and put that on there with a circle of both the old olive maybe and the mossy meadow. So envision this with a couple of layers behind it and a happy retirement and a bow. So just kind of envision that one, because I think that will probably work. And then this one, I need a better layer of the old olive, although I could just do something like this, and then I don't need a whole nother piece because I could just use that piece there. And then I need to finish these dots on here. And all I did was kind of like some stippling, but I'm doing it very gently because I don't want to break the tip. And I didn't know if you'd really want to watch me color this whole thing with this stippling. But you get the idea, and you kind of get how it's going to look. And then these, there's very definite dots there that I'll try to work on. And again, I'm just doing it very light with my marker. And this is just a regular marker. There's not a blends for early espresso as far as I'm aware. There are a few colors where there's other colors that are very similar, so they don't have a Stampin' Blend. Like Mossy Meadow, I think, is one of those colors. So you can kind of see where I'm going here. Kind of. There. I think that's all of them. And then I'll just keep working around this to finish that off. Okay. And then, you like that idea, Fifi, of just kind of offsetting those? I think that works. And then for this, I thought what I could do is, I like to do my, like a knot bow. We'll see how it works with this two-sided ribbon though. I want to have the green side out. This ribbon is very pretty. I didn't really realize that the sides were going to be different color like that. They've done those two-tone ribbons before. And what I'm doing here is hopefully going to get this tied. We're still having our raccoon issues with our yard. We had two huge, and I mean they're huge. They're for a raccoon. They're absolutely huge. Last night we had two of them before I went to bed, and I worry because I have chickens, and so far they haven't been hanging around the chicken coop. So what do you think about that? And then this will get tucked under here, and this will get tucked under here. So kind of envision that, and I will put these together, and I'll post them on my Facebook page, the finished products. And then this could go like here. I'm going to put something behind here. I don't know if I'll probably do a mossy meadow, or I think I'll do both. So we'll have continuity there with the two layers. So I'll do the mossy meadow and the old olive. There's a bow maker with pegs that when you make a bow on two-tone ribbon, it comes out so right. You mean like one of these? Yeah. I should have probably done this, but sometimes I'm just stubborn. I usually pull it out, and this. They're really easy to make. I made quite a few of them, and I forgot to take them to the craft fair that I was doing, and so I forgot to sell them. But anyway, so that's what I'm going to try to do with these, and then we'll put some embellishments. I might use some of those flat ones that I just got with that Paperly Pear Sweet, if that's what it's called. All right, so just imagine these finished. So a couple layers behind this, the correctly sized layers there. That center I will finish off. This one I think I'm just going to leave it as is. I might do like some pecan pie in the middle there just to see how it looks, darken that up a little bit. But use your imagination. What do you think? Great. Thank you, Fifi. Yeah, I will post some. I don't know if you pop over to my Facebook page at all, but it's Lori's Little Bit of Craftin there as well. And I usually try to post these projects on my Facebook page, usually like the next day. So I've had a chance to get them, finished putting them together and doing like a this or that. Which one do you like better? So that's all I have for tonight. And hopefully they went kind of quick. I know it was probably about half an hour still, but thanks for popping in, Fifi. I enjoy having the company and somebody to chat with, so I don't feel like I'm talking to myself, even though I can see that people watch the replay as well. So hopefully we'll catch you next time. And until then, happy crafting.